All right, Evan.
It's good to be here.
It's good to have you. So, just to set the table, Evan and I went to Connecticut over last weekend. We ran a marathon together. We didn't plan out a route. We just kind of wung it. I
Yeah,
guess is the best way to say it.
yeah.
Pretty bad weather. So, and it was. Wait one sec. My head's hitting this curtain. It's annoying me.
Oh.
It was so I've run quite a few marathons over the years. It's Evan's first, so I'm really interested in talking to him about it. Ideally, we would have done this right after the race, but it's been 2 days now. But
Yeah.
let's get into it. So, what are your thoughts on your first marathon?
So, I kind of always told myself that there's nothing bad that comes out of doing something that's difficult. So, I've always been kind of interested in doing those challenges. Cause like I wasn't really planning on doing the marathon in Millnocket, but you kind of talked me into it, and at the same time I wanted something different,
Right.
than just kind of trying to bulk up and getting strong, cause it's challenging, cause it's like the hardest thing I've ever had to do. It seems like at least. So yeah, the run was really nice to be able to do it, especially with you and have all that support there. You know.
Was it what you expected it would be? Like, I mean, I kind of told you about myself and my first experience in a marathon.
Right.
I didn't know if you were just gonna breeze through it.
No, I
And you
didn't.
didn't.
I didn't. That's for
Did
sure.
you expect that?
Yeah, I expected to get kind of into that type of pain. It was really interesting because as I was going through, I would get to like mile 15. I'm like, okay, this hurts a little bit more than mile 13 would. And then I would have pains in my body that I remember you told me about a couple of years ago. And so I was like, oh, well, I remember when Ben told me about this on that marathon he did. So it was really funny to see how I did that, you know?
Right.
Yeah.
So we started early in the morning, rainy. Well, going into the race, do you feel like you were in a good spot to like start the race, like nutrition wise, like like were you in a good like for me, I was not.
You
Like
weren't?
I did my taper like I usually do, but I kind of like I was eating crap that week,
Yeah.
and then we obviously drove down to Connecticut, so we had a 6 hour ride in the car. You drove too,
Right.
and then we get in late, and then we're running early. I wasn't in like I wasn't starting the race in my best like
Right.
ready to go.
Yeah.
Did
So I felt I did pretty well with nutrition. Like I was happy with what I ate the day before. I think I was hydrated well. I really liked that part. The only thing that was kind of a bummer was the sleep, but you know, who needs sleep?
we need to sleep,
I guess.
but yeah, I mean that's part of the I mean I think that's like each one of these little things that I do. Like they all have their own unique challenges, and that
Right.
was part of it. Like we had to do a long drive.
Right.
We were in the rain, and that day the forecast looked like it was going to be crazy rain
Horrible.
and crazy wind, which mostly happened here from
Right.
everybody I've talked to. Somehow Connecticut, man, we hit like a
Right.
little. It rained for the first 2 hours, but not even. It was light
Hour.
rain. It was light, and then we got like a little downpour, and then light, and a little downpour, and then it was dry.
It wasn't as windy as I was expecting either.
Like 2 or 3 spots we hit were like wind was hitting you, but
Yeah.
then it wasn't bad. So we actually had a nice day. I mean, we'll get into blisters in a second. Well, let's talk about that. So like, we're wet, obviously. You had some blisters. How are they now?
They're all right. I haven't popped them or anything, so they're doing well.
When did you start? Did you feel them during the run, or is
I-
it something you noticed after?
I started to feel them, but it wasn't bothering me because like my knees were hurting more than that. You know,
Right.
like my body was in so much more pain than just my feet.
Right.
And yeah, I guess I'm used to blisters. I don't know.
I wonder if I don't know. So I know for me, like having better wicking socks helps, and I wasn't wearing my best moisture socks, which I probably should have been. But I felt I don't think I could have gone much longer than I did before I would start I could start to feel my toes kind of
Right.
rubbing. I didn't get any blisters, but I was
Right.
close to it.
It was funny how you mentioned the chafing, like in the shower, you'll notice it after. As soon as I got in that shower after, I have a big cut right on my side from like, I don't know, it was like the pants I was wearing or something.
Probably the belt.
It might have been I don't know.
Because the belt's over the pants, so it's putting more pressure than normally in that area.
Yeah, but I had a cut there, and of course the blisters. I noticed right after I took my socks off.
that fire, like it hits. It's funny how you don't even have soap or anything. It's just like, oh.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we started off and it was rainy, and so we didn't plan out anything. We were just winging it. We had no idea what roads we were going on. We went down a bunch of cul-de-sacs and had to loop back. We were just winging our direction. I think that worked out pretty cool though.
I think it did. I really enjoyed the first 10 miles especially because I never really ran in the dark or trained in the dark, so I thought that was very cool.
Yeah, part of me loves the dark and part of me hates it.
Right.
Because there's like we're hitting hills like around here when it's dark, like I know it's coming.
Right.
So I know where I'm at.
Right.
We'd be on a hill. It's like, is this ever gonna end? And I literally can't see the top of the hill.
Right.
And not to mention the moisture's kind of knocking down our visibility too.
Right.
Pace wise, do you think you should have gone out faster, slower, or did it right?
So I like the way we did it, because like I said, the first 10 miles were a breeze, and then we got to the halfway mark, and I was kind of starting to slow down. I started feeling my knees and my ankles more, but I don't think going slower would have helped that, really. Like, I think cardiovascularly, I was ready for it, but just my body wasn't fully there. But, yeah, until...
You said your goal was like 9 minutes to start.
Right.
Which I was worried you were gonna start trying like for 8:30 or something like that.
Right. No. Yeah.
I was glad you were gonna go 9. Which just like beginning of the race, it felt. I mean, I could handle the 9, but it took me a long time to get into my groove.
Comfortable.
I would say 2 to 4 miles somewhere in there before I finally felt like okay, now I'm in a good spot. Then there was a point where like I knew you were trying to stay 9. And I was telling you, like, it was like 9... Oh, this one was like 9:15, and the next one was like 9:20, and then like 9:30. And you're like, oh, that's good. I'm like, oh, he doesn't want to stay 9 anymore.
Yeah.
Because I think I could have stayed at 9 at that point, but I'm like, we'll go... If Evan thinks it's good...
Yeah.
I wasn't trying to set any times or anything like that.
Right. No, I just realized after... I think it was around, like, probably halfway, so probably 13 miles. I was like, keeping it 9 was pretty difficult. Just because... my body was kind of breaking down. It wasn't used to that. So, I was happy with the pace until I kind of broke down, but then...
No, your longest run before that was like 15, 16?
15, 16, around there.
So and would you say when you were around 15, 16, it felt about the same as your 15, 16? Or that one, when you're running 15, 16, you know that's what you're doing, you're kind of like, oh, this is the end.
So it kind of feels the same, but like you almost get like a sense of closure because you know it's like at 15, 16 you're done. So to keep in mind that I'm going to be in that amount of pain and more for another 10 miles was kind of challenging, but yeah, it worked out well.
So at one point, so we're running together and you're really starting to slow down and I left Evan. And I didn't know if I should stay with you or not, but I kind of felt like it's your moment, let you live in it.
Right.
And I'm like, and I told you I'd run ahead and I'd come back. And I didn't know how far I was going to run. And I'm like, oh, I'll just keep running to the turn. Which I'm kind of glad I did because we might have taken a wrong turn. Right. I scouted ahead and I was like, okay, this was definitely the turn at the fire station. Mm. So what happened when is that all right then?
No, that's fine. So... You left, which I was kind of glad. I was like, this is a new experience. I'd like to kind of enjoy it, like you said.
I don't think enjoy it's what you did, though.
Right, I know. I tried to enjoy it. I enjoy it now that I think about it, but of course at the time it hurt. But as soon as you left, I was like, okay, I need some more water. I started drinking the water.
And you ran out.
And I realized, I was like, oh, shit, these are pretty low. So I probably ran out maybe, I don't know, 15 minutes after you left. But, like, I was like, okay, he'll come back and I'll be fine. So I get to a point where I'm like, okay, like, I think it would be beneficial just to, like, take 30 seconds and stretch my legs. Because I was moving at a walking pace, it felt like.
So, what on your body was feeling like you needed to stretch?
So it was the like you said, the tendons in the back of my knee, right, like cut right up to my hamstring, because I noticed that would start to hurt, and then since that was putting so much pressure there, my ankles would also kind of hurt.
So what'd you do for stretching?
So what I did, I was like, okay, I'm only gonna take 30 seconds. So I stopped. I grab onto a mailbox. Like I just grabbed somebody's mailbox, and I just touched my toes. Like I touched my toes, and I would stretch it. And I kind of put pressure on my hamstring there, and then I would just grab my quad and pull my ankle to my
Right.
butt. So it would stretch my quad, and then I kind of shake it out for a couple of seconds, and I'd be like, okay. And I go back, and I did that.
Well, before you get too far ahead,
Right.
so you do your stretch and then you go to run. How did it feel like starting right off? Was it worse or better from when you stopped?
So it felt better. It felt a lot better, but I wasn't sure how long it was gonna last.
Right.
So it probably lasted me a couple minutes until it was like kind of back where it was to start. So the first mile I did that was mile 20. I got to mile 20 and I did that. And then I would tell myself, okay, I'll get to another mile. And then I did that for mile 21, 22, and 23, I believe.
And it kept feeling good?
And it was
Because usually when I stop and I go to start again, it's like, oh, I wish I'd never stopped.
Really?
Because it's so hard to get going again.
Right, I found that, I mean, the stretching would help for a couple minutes. I was able to go
That's awesome.
at a little bit better of a pace than before. And then it came to the point where there was some hills. I don't know if you noticed this when you were running through, but there was some pretty, like, they weren't really steep, but they were gradual, and they were long. They were pretty long, so I'd be like, okay, they're going to get to that mailbox. And I'd point to that mailbox and be like, I'll get to that one, and then I'll stretch it. And then I'd get there, and I'd be like, maybe I can go a little more. And then I'd look at a point and tell myself I'm going to get there. And if I get there, I can stretch, and then, but yeah, that was basically just how I got through that time when you.
I've heard a lot of people say, like, marathon run or distance runners talking about how you got to break it up. You can't be thinking about 26
Right.
miles or whatever. You do kind of do the, okay, I'm going to make this hill. I'm going to make
Right.
this. And you just get through each one at a time, and
Right.
that's probably the best way mentally to get through it.
Right. That's what I thought, and.
Well, I was surprised. So I told you when we were running, like, I left you and I dropped back down to basically a 9-minute pace, maybe a little bit over. And I was just jogging, and it felt comfortable, and I'm pulling away from you. And I kind of figured I was going to be... I thought I'd turn back and run at least a mile before I saw you, and maybe a half or more.
Right.
Because I figured you were slow. Like, I saw how much you were slowing down,
Right.
and I'm like, if he keeps slowing down that much, he's basically going to be walking.
Right.
You
It was.
kept a pace.
I mean, really, the only thing was, it was just the pain there, and then I'd stretch it, and then I was able to keep it for a couple more minutes, and then, I was able to keep it after I stretched, and there was only like one point. It was maybe like 100 yards. I walked a hill,
Right.
but that was just because I was like, okay, this will be more beneficial afterwards after I do it, rather than I was like thinking big long term for it,
More pain than you expected?
No, I expected pain. I never experienced it, but I mean, I expected it because I know when I get done my 15-mile run, I'm like, okay, imagine doing 11 more.
But it's hard to know what that
It is
was.
hard
It's
to
hard to
know.
know what your body's get. Like when you start hitting, it's funny because you were hitting the same places I did. 18, then 20 was like, okay, it really deteriorated, and then it was just kind of suffering the rest of the way.
Right.
Which I ended up walking more than you. But so now we're running we've met back up and we're running together. And you're making lots of noises. And I do think, I mean, just so you know, I was feeling it more than usual too. I think that for whatever reason, those hills, I'm used to hills. It's not as hilly as around here, but they were
Right.
like so long.
They were.
Something about it. And the weather, that little beach area was kind of cool.
It was very neat.
And I looked, Hammonasset, I think is what it is. Roland said that it's really long. It's like a 4-mile beach.
Right.
And I looked at the Google Maps. I don't know if you did afterwards. Where we went to, it literally goes like 4 or 5 miles up of beach. That huge puddle where we turned around, we could have gone
Right.
like 3 more miles and just stayed on the edge of the beach.
Really.
Yeah, I mean,
That's
I don't think
cool.
we should have because
Right.
that was our turnaround
Yeah.
point. Yeah. But I was feeling it. But you were definitely feeling it good. And then you start doing your crazy pace. What happened there?
So, like I told you, I don't remember what mile we're at. I think we're at like 8 or 9 when I told you about it. But I was like, sometimes in the gym I'll get like a burst of adrenaline, just like randomly, and you don't know when it's coming, and it just comes, and it'll be there for maybe 5 sets, or yeah, like five to 10 sets maybe, and then it goes away, and then you're back to normal. So I don't know what sparked it. Like, honestly, it just happened, because I was like looking at my watch. I think it was around like mile 24 maybe, and I'm like, okay, this is where my 2 mile comes in, because I practiced 2 miles so much. And it just started, and like the adrenaline just gets going, and I was able to, I don't know, it's probably like a 7-minute mile pace for.
I don't know if it's, I don't think it's that fast.
Right.
Because I was staying up with you, and I don't think.
Right.
I would say it was close to an 8:30 though. I mean, it was in that
Right.
ballpark for sure.
Right, but it was a lot faster than
Considering what we were doing, yeah.
what I was doing, and then it lasted probably, I don't know, 3 minutes, and then it went away. And as soon as it went away, it was like the pain just started all over. It was so weird. Like, the whole time during it, I didn't feel any pain in my legs. It just went numb. I was just able to run. And then as soon as it was gone, it was like, wow, I'm gonna pay for that.
Right.
You know?
It's a weird thing, like that we can tap into. Like, I've felt that many times. It's funny just thinking back when I did the Millinocket with Justin. I've been hit. Evan's brother Justin ran the mill. We didn't run it together, but we happened to run. And I was hitting that, I want to say it was like mile 22 where I passed Justin. And he was definitely in the pain cave at that moment. And I was hitting what you're talking, like literally just starting to feel great. Like, wow. Like, and I've been feeling uncomfortable. And then all of a sudden I'm hitting that groove.
Right.
And so I'm passing him at his worst. And I'm feeling my best, like feeling good. But it ended for me pretty quick.
Right.
You know, I got about 2 miles, I'd say similarly. And it's weird how you, like, is that something you can keep tapping into it? Like,
I don't know.
it's like, it's the same thing as like when a good song comes on. If you're listening to music running, a song comes on and you lose yourself and you're just in the groove, and it's like, whoa, I didn't realize I was pushing myself so hard.
Right.
It's kind of a similar kind of thing, but I don't know if, but it, for me, what I've experienced, it's the end. It's my body's last. Like, here you go. This is all we got left.
I can't believe how much it just took away the pain in my legs, though. Like, I hear like stories of people, like, they'll get shot and they won't even notice it just because that adrenaline rush. It's like, wow, it's kind of real.
It probably is a similar thing.
Right.
It's happening physically.
Right, that's what it felt like. Because as soon as it was gone, it was like, okay, wow, this is more pain than before.
And then, so we're within a mile of the end, I think, when your body, like,
It was done.
it kicked back in.
Yeah.
And you're like, I need to stop and stretch, you said to me.
Yeah.
And I'm like, at that point, we were like half a mile.
I
Like,
know.
I'm like, Evan, let's finish. Like,
I know.
screw the stop, let's finish.
I know.
But the stretch, it felt that bad?
Yeah.
Or were you just not aware that you were that close? What, like, because I was surprised you wanted to. I'm like, let's get this done.
No, it felt that bad, but like every time I'd done it, I was like, okay, I'll be able to go a couple more minutes without the pain like it was. So I was like, okay, maybe this will be beneficial, but then I was like, it's all right. I'll keep going.
Kind of cool when KK came by right at the end.
Very cool. I was like, oh, good to see you.
But it's funny how that little bit like gives you almost a little adrenaline surge too.
Right. That certainly, because that was like after I'd already declined from everything.
That last mile, yeah.
Yeah, seeing her really helped. Yeah, it was really nice.
Yeah. Then you stopped and I kept running back to Roland's house, and I was pretty uncomfortable. I wouldn't say. It felt reasonably comfortable, like what it would normally feel like for me at that distance. I was feeling a little sore, but the rest of the day, I mean, I've run a bunch of marathons, and I've run a marathon and worked around the yard all day long. For whatever reason, I was wiped out the rest of the day. Like, I couldn't focus, like I was in a fog. I felt bad because I don't want to like miss family time because I'm so tired from my marathon. I was definitely not myself.
Right.
That thing wiped me out.
I felt the same way. Like, as soon as she picked me up, I jumped in, and like I picked up my legs and threw them across the back seat, so they were straight, because I thought that would make it feel better. And she's like, "Oh, we're going to Dunkin'." I'm like, "Okay, sweet." So we get to Dunkin' Donuts, and then I get out of the car and I stand up, and it's like everything had just like, I don't know, the blood pooled, it locked up. So I was like, okay. And so Kaylin pretty much carried me into Dunkin' Donuts. I saw a chair. Like, Logan's like opening the door for us. Kaylin's like bringing me in. And then I saw a chair and I just went and sat down in it. And for whatever reason, keeping my legs straight and like flat out, it was making the back of my knee pretty much cramp. And it was just like one of those cramps you get in your calf, but right there, and it hurt so bad. So I kind of crawled up in a ball on most of my legs and just sat there while they ordered.
Yeah, that. It's funny. I mean, your body hasn't been through that. It's
right.
You're not even sure what it's gonna do, what it can't do, and you're such an invalid at that point.
Right. Yeah, really. It was really interesting to feel. And then I got the sandwich, and it was the best sandwich I ever had. It was so good.
And Roland's house has so many stairs.
Oh
You must have been dying every time you had to go up or down.
It was ridiculous. No, it was difficult. I grabbed the railing and just pulled myself up. That was about all I could do.
Right. And now afterwards, how are you feeling now? Like, we're what, 2 days? Yeah, 2 days after.
I'm kind of glad we're doing it now, actually, because I can see how sore I was. Like
right.
If we did this right after the marathon, I'd be like, oh, my body hurts so bad. But actually,
so let's go back to that before we get right afterwards. Are you like? So I finished mine. I'm like, never again. I'm done. Like, this is stupid. Like, why am I doing this crap? Did you have any of that feeling? Because I know we have Millinocket already planned. So you already have.
No, I had those thoughts, but they weren't serious. But it was only during the run. It was like, I'm never doing this again. Right. It wasn't something serious. It was just.
It gets serious, I guess.
Yeah, it does. No, but as soon as it's done, I was like, well, I'm glad I did that. It was really. Yeah, I was glad to do it.
Okay, so then right after you're really sore, now how was yesterday?
So
or like talk me through like how.
So we did
how
the race.
Soreness has been each day since.
Right, we did the run Saturday. So it was all Saturday. It was a struggle. I was stretching a lot. So Sunday comes and I was like, so we drove that day and I noticed when I was driving my back was kind of hurting. And whenever I get out of the car after driving for a while, they kind of lock up almost.
Stiff, yeah.
They're stiff, right? And so we actually went trick or treating Sunday night, which helped because I went for I think it was a 1.3 mile walk, and it was nice to kind of stretch out my legs that way.
I think that's a good thing to do. Is the walking afterwards kind of gets the blood at least flowing.
Right, and then on Monday I went to the gym and had my workout, but I did some biking and I did. Treadmill on incline, just the walking.
Right.
And they felt better, and like today I felt like I could have gone running, but I think I'm gonna wait till tomorrow.
Yeah.
Just to be safe.
Yeah, I think it's a good plan. I think, geez, I don't even know. At one point I did, like, it takes your body weeks, if not longer, like a month to really recover from a marathon.
Really?
Yeah, to fully, like, to be back where you were to start the race.
Wow.
You know, that. To like, if you were gonna try to put up the same time you just did, I think it takes like almost a month for your body to be back conditioned. It sets you back that much.
So like December 4th.
Right, right. And I don't know how. I mean, that obviously depends on what kind of, like, for me. At this point, a marathon is kind of a training run for me. It's a long. That's my long training runs. So, I don't think it takes me that long to recover because my body's more used to that kind of distance. Right. But for most people, when they run a marathon, so you're still planning on doing Millinocket? I'm taking.
Of course.
And one of the. So you've been, last year, bulking was a big thing for you, and getting more muscular, which I fully believe you can do both. Obviously, you don't want to be maximum size for marathon running.
Right.
But there is, I mean, like the Nick Bears of the world, there's that.
Right.
You can be kind of both.
Right.
What are your thoughts, like? So
that's what I'm trying to do now. Which I really honestly enjoyed it better than when I was at my biggest, and doing that strength training, because I really enjoyed both. I didn't really believe you at first when you told me that you could do that, but I completely do now. I realize that it just takes time,
As far as the being bulky and running, that's the nutrition part.
Right.
You're obviously gonna have to consume more, and but the to me, like weightlifting, So like if you're talking about like putting up more weights, there's a point where your body like, I would say marathons is kind of similar. Like there's a point where like you're putting so much strain on your body. You're like, okay, I'm putting up my PR,
Right.
but it's hurting me.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like this is probably isn't good for me anymore. And there's a distance where like for you right now, 18 to 26, probably not good for me anymore. But and you in both things you can kind of train to get better. But I feel like the limits of the maximum you're going to be able to bench is closer, than what, like there's no doubt like you could run 100 miles.
Right.
Like you're a quarter of the way to potential, and the potential's way past that. The potential for benching is probably another 50 pounds.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like you're already 3/4 of the way there where you're
Right.
just tapping into running potential.
Right.
And there's so much, I don't know. For me, it's like the running is, even though running is something I don't really like.
Right.
I do and I don't. Like I like,
That's how I feel.
I feel about it afterwards. I really like I'm like, oh, cool. I just ran that. That's cool.
Like I'm really glad I can look on the map and see that. Like I think that's so neat.
I agree. And I can run to different places. Like, oh, I ran here. And there's definitely something, it's kind of like, I know you feel this way, even though we haven't talked about it so much, like on your motorcycle.
Right.
There's a difference driving down Kennebec Road on your motorcycle than a car. Like,
Way different.
oh, I love this road. I hate this road. I love the smells. Like, there's something different. It's the same, and it's another level when you're running.
Right.
Because you're experiencing it. You're in it. You're more time in each little area.
You feel it.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost, yeah.
But it's such a challenge that I feel like there's a formula for like running these longer distances. So for you, like, do you think eating during the run, should you have? So like I'm a big fan of fasting when I'm training, but when but you also. But I think a big part of the reason you hit the wall around 18 to 20 is because your body ran out of gas.
Right. I think electrolytes would have helped.
Without a doubt.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah, and I wish I'd known something about, because I had those little pouches, I could have given to you ahead of time, without a doubt, and you probably wouldn't have drank so much.
Right. I started feeling really, really thirsty around like probably 15. I was like, wow, I'm kind of.
Well, I think it's the same place where your body was hitting the wall. It started like as you were running out of getting more thirsty.
My body was deteriorating.
So
you know?
Definitely electrolytes are the way to go. And I mean the electrolytes I use, the Ultima. Those are 0 calorie. Right. I would recommend something like a Gatorade or a product that you'd like that has calories, because your body's going to use those calories too.
I think even a gel, my stomach would have been able to handle it, you know.
Right, and that's the one thing you want to train what you're going to do. So even though I'm like I said, I'm a big fan of fasting and training, because I think your body's getting good at running on the fats and stuff. But you also want to train for what you're going to do race day.
Right.
And I think gels would have, or chewy bars or something. Just it's a balance between if I put too much in, it's gonna make things upset, because that will set your back big time.
Right.
But enough to
keep you going.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I know sometimes there's a point, if I am fasted, like you said, during my training, I'll feel like it's almost like I'm empty. Like I'll feel like my body feels like empty. It's like there's nothing left to really give, you know. Even if my legs aren't completely tired, my body will be like, oh, there's no more energy. Right. That's what it feels like to me, at least.
Yeah. I mean, I think, I can't remember the numbers. I should grab it on my phone and look, but I mean, you burn like 2,000, 4,000 calories somewhere. That's a big number, but you're burning a lot of calories. To run a marathon, you're burning a lot of calories.
I think it was 2,600.
Is that what the Garmin said? Okay, yeah.
I think so.
So 2,600 is what Garmin estimates we're burning.
Right.
And you took 0 in.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
and it's all relying on the day before.
And all you can have, I think what you can store like 1,500 or something like that, or maybe if you've done a carb loading where you've got it all, like you don't have that many calories in your system. So at some point you hit, that's what the wall is.
Right.
You've run out.
Right.
Yeah.
I think I felt that.
So it's, and I do think just nutrition wise, if you did the same race and had a little bit more, maybe you don't hit that wall until like 24, and then it's like, okay, I'm just going to push through. Or maybe you don't hit it at all. Maybe. So that'll be an interesting thing as we get closer to Millinocket.
Yeah, I'm excited.
Shoes worked out good?
Shoes were good. I really enjoy them.
Obviously blisters, but that I don't think any different shoes would have helped you there.
No, your feet would have been wet either way.
There's no way.
It wouldn't have mattered.
Yeah, and no, it was fun. I'm glad I got to experience your first marathon.
Yeah.
It'll be a way different experience in Millinocket just because it's going to be that much colder. But
Right.
but you're in a crowd. There's people there. There's people
Right.
cheering. It's a different kind of atmosphere.
It adds in all those factors that you don't really consider, I guess.
Right. Right. But it makes it. I don't know. Our run was fun because it's like you're in your own head, you're alone, but then all of a sudden you're with other people and you're experiencing it.
Right.
Hopefully it happens, with COVID and everything.
Hopefully.
I'm a little nervous. If not, though, we'll do something else.
Right.
Awesome.
We'll do our own.
One marathon down and more to come.
More.
We'll see. We'll see if you keep at it.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Evan.
You're welcome. Good to be here.
That's good. We did a half hour.